I am so fortunate. I have Saul Colt, the head of magic over at FreshBooks, amongst other things. Saul, I wanted to bother you about invoicing. I know that, FreshBooks being an invoicing software, I mean, you must have some sense of best practices around when and how and all those kinds of things. And I think that a lot of small business owners, for instance, are not so great at invoicing. I think they get shy or embarrassed. I think they also get forgetful and they don't necessarily know. So I guess first off, any just right off the top of your head, horror stories or funny stories that come to mind about this, or what's your first piece of advice?
Well, first piece of advice. Well, first, Chris, thank you for having me. Secondly, it's so important to invoice your client. It's one of the things we say in our office is invoice early, invoice often. There's plenty of tools out there. Ours is one of them, obviously, that you can literally invoice the minute you finish the job. You can invoice from your vehicle before you leave the parking lot. If you're working on site, if you're working at home or remotely, it's literally like you cannot get paid until these people have proof of work or an invoice or something to match it up with. So you do it as soon as possible. Send 4 invoices and spread them out for different jobs because you need to keep the lights on. You need to do all this. It's so wonderful for your clients, but you got to be a little selfish because this is your livelihood.
So let's pause for a second. So, I mean, let's say I just finished the job. I grab my Android or whatever your smartphone device is that, FreshBooks works on, and I hit the send button on that thing. I mean, right from the parking lot, doesn't that seem a little, I feel like a prostitute if I do that. I mean, I guess it's the thing. I mean, I've charged for money. I get that, but isn't it like so close to the act? Why do I feel that?
Well, so I can't really speak to the prostitute part, but from what I've seen on TV and things, that scenario usually leave the money on the counter, so there isn't really that awkward pause. But I will say, if you do it from your car and things, I think it makes you look professional. It makes you look like you take your business very seriously. I think, a lot of business and everything is kind of perception, and a lot of it is kind of fake it till you make it and things like that. So the most important thing is you want to create an air of professionalism and create an air that you are the only person these people should be working with because you know exactly what you're doing in every aspect of your business. You're the best provider of whatever service they're hiring you for, and you also know how to run your business. So there should never be a doubt that people think, oh, maybe this guy isn't that good, or he's lazy or whatever. Like, it's really create an air of invincibility at every stage of your business.
Friends invoicing friends. I have the very great luxury of doing business with a lot of people that I also consider my friend. Do you find that that's a little tricky? For example, I have a friend who's invoiced me, and even having this conversation, I thought, oh, I meant to pay that. It was like 4 days ago, and I didn't yet, and now I'm going to have to after this call. Do you find it's harder for friends to invoice friends, and what's your thinking there?
Whether it's friends versus friends or just an anonymous company that's found you on the internet, your relationship with your customers, your relationship with your friends are really important, and it's very difficult to owe them money or call for money and then call for work in the same week or something like that. So one of the things I do personally when I'm sending invoices is in our product we have automatic payment reminders. And so at 10 days or 20 days or 4 days, whatever day you set it up, it'll send an automatic reminder, just say, please pay the bill, things like that. What I've done personally is I've made them very cheeky and personal and, sort of cut through the things. So, at 30 days, if you were to get a payment reminder from me, it'd be something like, hey, I don't remember what it says, but it's hilarious. It probably says something along the lines of, like, paying bills is really a horrible thing, but, I've got to do them, you got to do them, and I can't pay them until you pay me sort of thing. But one thing I have done on all of my automatic reminders at the bottom, it actually says in big bold with asterisks in a different color, it says this payment reminder came from the Saul Colt supercomputer. Saul doesn't even know I sent it. So that way it sort of separates the whole, like, I'm not bothering you for money. This is clearly an automatic reminder. It's polite, it's kind, it's cheeky. Please take a look at your books and settle this up. So when it's friends, maybe that is a little easier, but I use it for friends or clients.
I think that's a great way to do it. So that brings me to a point. When people write an invoice, a lot of detail, not too much detail. I mean, obviously the people have to understand what the invoice is for, but there's a contract and there's other documents that exist for that. Do you keep the invoice pretty thin, or what do you do?
I let the customer sort of dictate what they need to make this the smoothest transaction possible. Or you can actually let the brand of your company, or let a lot of different things. Myself personally, I keep a lot of information just because I want to, alleviate any doubt, any questioning. I want to send the invoice, I want to get paid. I don't want to have 6 conversations explaining, what project this was for, or what, this or that. So our product, again, I should probably say the name every now and then, freshbooks.com. We actually give you the choice. So you can pick 3 different versions of how your invoice went. You can put every line item of every time that was tracked, or you can just put, general detail of, project X or whatever. So you can choose either way. I think it's whatever works for you and whatever is going to get you paid quicker. I'd experiment with a couple different ways.
Thank you, Saul. So freshbooks.com is where we can learn about FreshBooks, and we can learn about you, Mr. Head of Wizardry, where?
SaulColt.com.
Perfect. Saul, thanks so much for your time. Thanks for being available.
No problem. I appreciate this, Chris.